Hey, what's going on, everybody? Today is January 22nd, 2024, and you are listening and watching the Daily AI Show live. And we are happy to have you guys back for another week. And today, so far, we have Jyunmi, Beth, Eran, Karl. I'm Brian. And the discussion today is about AI avatars, but specifically business use cases for AI avatars. What are the risks? What are the rewards? We've sort of talked about this in other shows, and then, and to be honest, after shows, a lot of times we'll have discussions, and this comes up quite a bit. I think just to sort of set the tone, I thought, I was saying this right before we went live, that one of the cautionary tales of anybody moving in and using AI tools, whether it's avatars or anything else, is right now in the news. A big story is about Sports Illustrated. In the last week, I mean, we can talk about this on the news show too. In the last week, they laid off a sizable portion of their content creators or writers. I'm not sure exactly what titles they had. Now, they were in the news maybe a month or two ago because they had a third party company that was found to be using AI to, I guess, write articles on behalf of Sports Illustrated. And there was a big, kerfuffle about that. And it brought up, obviously, questions about whether you need to be forward with your client base, when things are being created and written by humans, whether they're being assisted by AI or frankly, flat out written by AI. Now, that's not an avatar story, but I do think it's a great point to kind of kick off this conversation because it is a cautionary tale. And people are saying, well, does that mean Sports Illustrated is done? I mean, are they going to rehire new people? Was it such an internal problem that they feel like it's better just to wash the slate clean and start over because of the, from a PR perspective? I don't know. What do you guys think? And then, how does this apply to people who are maybe wanting to dip their toes into AI avatars, but worried that something like a Sports Illustrated could happen? It's a PR nightmare.
Well, I think SI is a fantastic example of what you should not do as a company going into AI. And because it illustrated the issue of, replacement of workers or employee replacement or displacement. And it's not there. It's a fine example of you need people in the loop. You want your writers with their experience and their knowledge there to just be assisted by AI so that their work, so they need to spend less time on any particular story, things that will shave off those those extra hours and things like that, but not wholesale replacement. That's not what we want to see. We want to see people being empowered by AI. And I think that's what the direction that we should go in. And this Sports Illustrated story just points out, hey, this is what happens when you do it wrong.
Right. I'm kind of amused. If I understand Sports Illustrated correctly, because I've never seen it over here. We may sell it, but I haven't seen it. I think it's quite famous for having attractive women in bathing costumes on beaches and stuff like that from memory. So I'm just thinking, what happens when Midjourney becomes good enough to replace the photography of the real models? Where does things go there? That could be a really interesting future development.
Yeah, well, I mean, sort of a bump into the avatars too, in that sense. Go ahead, Beth.
So I think this highlights one of the pieces that's important from a business standpoint, is to not fool your readers who trust that what you're doing is authentic. And that's also a tricky needle to thread for businesses, right? So we trust Sports Illustrated. I also am not a sports ball person, so people trust Sports Illustrated as humans who have insights, who write interesting things, right? Mm-hmm. So now you have to now talk to your PR people, because you have a whole host of problems outside of that. But as a business looking at this as like a teaching experience or like a parable, an allegory, what are you going to do to avoid that? And one of the things that we recommend that you do is have a public AI policy so that people know that there's always a human behind it, or this particular section, right? Like, when you call and you get the chatbot doesn't say, the chatbot says, hi, I'm an AI chatbot, right?
Right.
Like, you disclose that up front, because then people are pleasantly surprised, or just regular annoyed, not feeling deceived, right?
Right. And I think we want options, right? I don't personally have a problem with a really well put together AI avatar. Let's be honest. It could be a cartoon. It could look human like. It could be, look like Clippy from back in the days. I don't personally care. I think the end user only really cares, did it solve their problem? So if it's the customer service side of it, what I always been a fan of is having options, which is, hey, would you like to solve your problem? We have an AI avatar. We're pretty proud of it. It's really good. Would you like to solve your problem through that? Like, let's say it's my internet company, right? Spectrum or something like that. Like, yeah, I'll give that for 3 minutes of my time. I'm totally willing to get in there and see if I can resolve the problem. Oh yeah, no, there is an outage in your area. Whatever, we can see it here. It looks like the estimated time is 2 hours. It's within 1 square mile of your home address or whatever. Hey, that's all I wanted to know. Was it just me or was it the area? Great, problem solved if it's something like that. But what gets frustrating is when there's not an alternative, because you can get in these sort of infinite loops of AI where it's not solving your problem. It's increasing frustration for the customer and there's no out. So not being able to jump on a customer service call number or send a really quick, I guess, a human chat or an email, we'll get back to you within 10 hours, whatever, kind of depending on your problem. That's where I think the problem is. And to your point, Beth, I think you're correct. You're absolutely right. Don't deceive me. Don't try to deceive me as the customer that what you're intending to do. I don't see any problem with you saying we think this is the latest and greatest AI. We are so proud of this internally. We hope you use it. It's amazing. Oh, sure, great. I'll jump in there. Why not? But don't deceive me and tell me that it's actually a human on the other side of the line. That's where I agree with you. That's where things kind of go south. It's not that the technology necessarily isn't capable. It's just, if we're using a HeyGen, now if you're not familiar with HeyGen, Eran is our resident expert on HeyGen, but if it's a human looking person whose mouth is moving and it's near identical to somebody else talking on it and it's customer facing, I don't know, Eran, you want to jump in on this? Like, where's that line of, does the end user need to know?
Yeah, it's a good question, Brian, and it's something I've thought about a bit. I know for myself with some of my videos, I will quite often use the fact that it's an AI video as a little bit of a surprise towards the end of the video. Mm-hmm. And the idea being, keeping in mind, I'm doing marketing with it, the idea of people watching it, every time I show someone a video in a meeting, they go, wow, that's realistic. And then if you drop the surprise on the end, hey, by the way, this is not a real video, it's an AI, and would you like to do the same kind of thing? So that works quite well for me. I would be, generally what I'm saying to my clients is if someone says, yeah, that doesn't look right, is that real? I'm generally saying don't hide the fact that it's not an AI. At the end of the day, I think you've just got to be fairly upfront about it. One thing I will say on the subject of AI support and that kind of stuff, a classic example happened to me last week. Everyone's favorite social media company, Facebook. So I've just got a new client, had to go and set up all of her ad accounts, and it went pear-shaped in about 2 minutes flat, as it usually does. There's nobody you can pick the phone up to call, even though the client wants to spend thousands of dollars on an ad campaign. There's only their AI chatbots, which are infuriating beyond belief. And then when you get to talk to a real person, they're not much better anyway. So It's taken, what's today, Tuesday? It's taken 4 days to hear back from my account rep because they've been out or it's been the weekend or whatever. So, pretty bad customer experience. And I think, you might not be a Facebook, but if you're going to rely on something like that as a customer support tool, I think you need to be really careful, keep a close eye on it, certainly until it becomes a lot better. Because if you, excuse my French for swearing, but if you piss people off because they get caught up in this thing, you're going to lose business, and it's not the way to go.
So I don't know, Karl, and you've been you're forward facing to your clients and stuff like that. And I know you've had some discussions, not necessarily maybe avatar, but when it comes to like cloning the likeness voice of maybe CXOs, maybe it's somebody who's going to be leading the training at a company. We know there's abilities now. It's actually kind of cool for somebody who maybe only natively speaks English to now be able to do videos and training sessions that might have them speaking, you know, through the cloning of their voice and using a tool like a HeyGen to look like they're speaking a different language. And does that bring them a little bit closer, even though they're not natively able to speak? You know, as you're looking at your clients and talking to, I know you've had a lot of conversations. Where are the benefits? What are they excited about? And what are the actual today benefits of using avatars? Not necessarily human cloning, but just avatars in general. Human cloning sounds like a bigger thing, but you know what I mean? Cloning of voices.
It's funny because like a lot of people at like companies kind of joke about, hey, can you clone me, right? Because that's what people think about AI. But if you think about, especially executives who recognize the need to get in front of camera, get in front of people, or reach, especially a company that has multiple, I don't know, it could be global, could have offices in different places. It's just hard to get everybody in one place at one time. So they need to distribute communication, and email doesn't work, text doesn't work, right? So they have to get on camera. But a lot of those executives they're not comfortable in front of the camera, or they don't have time. So this situation actually came up where, they wanted an executive to be in a video to land a prospect. And, you know, there's extra oomph to it if your executive is part of that, like that RFP package. The funny thing about that is, you know, the first time they did it, it went kind of well. Like if you looked at it, it's like, oh, it's not bad. But now they want to do it for every single one. But the thing is, you can't get your CEO, CFO, whoever it is. It's hard to get them on camera just on, you know, sometimes you have to book them months, like weeks in advance. So the question of, hey, you know, we thought it was be an awesome idea to just clone the person. Well, it started with, hey, could you shoot one video and change the words from one to another? So it's like, name the company, just change the company. And I'm like, yeah, you could do that, but that's actually more work than just creating an avatar of the person and just actually having, you know, create the exact content differently for each one, because then it doesn't sound too scripted. But then the question came up, right? It's like, okay, now you have a company that is creating something that a person may or may not have said in real life. How long does the company actually have that rights to use? Does the person get to approve it every single time? Is there a blanket permission? Is it in perpetuity? Is it only for that specific use case? Is it only for the person until they leave? And then I think it's funny because, you know, an immediate gut reaction would be like, oh, I don't have to do any work. Fine. Yeah, just you do it, take care of it. And that's usually what a lot of CEOs or C-suite people do, is like, take care of it. I got to do stuff. But I'm like, I just want to make sure that that person actually thinks this through, not from the lens of a, you know, a C-suite, you're an executive, but I want you to think about it as a real person. Because as a real person, you're like, you've now given, it doesn't matter if you're a CEO, CFO, it doesn't matter. You've now given a company rights to create stuff that you never said. I want you to think that through a little bit. Yeah. And I want you to also think through, it's like, you like, as a person, right? So a company owns a thing that looks like you. I want you, so that's what I responded. I'm like, I need to make sure that person, I want you to send this. I don't want to paraphrase this. I want you to send this as is. And I want to make sure they agree to this and actually have like read it and understand it. Not CEO understand it, or as a regular person understand it.
Yeah, no, this is like psych experiment informed consent. right? Like,
Yeah.
read
Because
the thing.
yeah, I don't want, it's not just like 20 pages that we all look at and you're like, yeah, I'm just going to scroll all the way down and want to sign it. I'm like, you need, as a regular person, are you comfortable with this? Because you don't understand like the ramifications of what you've just done is allowing a company to literally create you, and you saying whatever, even if you have permission for it, even if they destroy it, and after, like, are you sure they've destroyed it? I don't know. And the funny thing is, I'm like, I'm the one who's creating it, so like no one else in the company knows how to do this except for me. So I'm like, there's another person, not the company. There are people who can create you. So it's like, I need to make sure everybody like really, really like grasps the concept of that. That is.
I wonder, Karl, if there's a version of this. Maybe it already exists, but I just learned this from a client who was really walking me through like digital assets and keeping them organized for a company, but specifically when it comes to marketing. And Eran or anybody else that's in marketing, what he was basically saying is like, it is insanely complex for a large company to keep it organized, democratize, and have governance over all digital assets, especially in this world. And to his point, I don't know that he used this example, but I'll just use it because I was watching the football game last night. The Chiefs are playing the Bills. So because the Chiefs are playing, Taylor Swift was in the audience because she's dating one of the players. Okay. So an example, she's got a jacket on, a Chiefs jacket on that was created. It was like a puffer jacket that was created by some other artist. Okay. Taylor Swift, maybe there's a contract there with Taylor Swift. Now, she's a mega brand. It's like she's a person, but you can imagine the size of the team and the digital assets that are involved with just Taylor Swift. It's sort of mind-boggling to think about how that all has to be kept correct. Now, at any given day, the way I understood it is there are multiple agreements about Eras tour or her name and likeness or whatever. And these things are coming and going at all. It's sort of a crazy mesh. And it can be really bad for this company who maybe had an agreement, a limited agreement with Taylor Swift or her her corporation, whatever that's called, okay, about this jacket, let's say, up to this date, but not past it. And you can only use this type font and so on and so forth. Okay. So I only paint that picture to say, is that really what needs to happen, Karl, or anybody, when we're talking about corporate structure? And as these digital avatars are going to become obviously a bigger part of all of our lives. And I'll just throw out a quick fact on that, or a quick quote. It's estimated that it'll be 5.59 billion in 2023 and grow to 67.59 billion by 2032, which is a compound annual growth rate of 32%. That's the digital avatar, digital human market. Okay. That's over the next 9 years or so. So that's what that number references. Clearly, this is going to be a huge part of all of our lives are going to grow. Do we need to start creating and having these sort of digital avatar assets, not for famous people, but for CEOs, CXOs, chief marketing officers, or people who are public PIs, people who are public facing or whatever, that says specifically, okay, like Karl, we're going into agreement with this, you're managing this, and you have expressed permission on this particular thing to create these videos. They can only go to this date or whatever the case is. They have to go through this approval process. And after that, they have to be pulled. They cannot be found, whatever the case may be. It seems to me like we're going to need something that robust and complex internally at companies in order to manage this. Because otherwise, to your point, Karl, this is the wild, wild west. What do you do? What do you do if somebody goes rogue, or what do you do if somebody doesn't have all the approvals, and all of a sudden you have some high-ranking, CEO, and she's like, I didn't say that. I don't approve that message. Like you see in the in all the politics in the States, like, I didn't approve that. That didn't happen, and now they're able to quickly back out of a PR nightmare by saying whether it was true or not, and go, whoa, that was a digital avatar, and I did not get approval for that.
Okay,
I
so
think you're going to have to introduce some kind of legal document, particularly at a company level, for those kind of scenarios. Because if you look at a a big company with a C-suite, CFO, CEO, all that kind of stuff. Let's say the person at the top has a big disagreement with someone down below, and they get fired or leave, or things go pear-shaped. If there isn't something in place legally to protect that individual, they could do anything with it. Because, I mean, human beings are human beings, all right? We all like to think that we are rational and sensible. But to give you a wild example, I met a guy last Thursday, and he had a phone call, and he walked in and said, "I've got to run, guys. One of my clients has just caught one of their staff members drinking hand wash, alcoholic hand wash." It's like he was boozing up on the hand wash. So, people do strange and weird things, and to take an avatar, whether it's a visual or a voice or a combo, and do something bad, I just think it's not sensible to have something in place. Now, who knows how
Right.
in 5 or 10 years when this is all common, but at this stage of the game, I'd be very reluctant to let an employer have rights to my avatar without some kind of legal protection in writing.
Right. So these are all great points to highlight, and this kind of falls under what exists today. And these are all likeness rights, right? Name and likeness rights. And so what's been going through the Copyright Office and what's been going through the government for various governance about AI and whatnot is to see if there needs to be determined specific AI rights, right? Or generative rights, or anything that's based on your AI avatar in this particular context. And so all of these kinds, these are all connected in a way. So these kind of contracts, or what you're talking about highlighting, they all exist. We just now need to envelop or incorporate the AI side of things. All right. So with likeness rights now, you like lots of big stars and movie stars and things like that. They all have these laid out in their contracts, like how often you can use it for what project, what do you own as the producer, how you can use your voice and likeness for promotion, all those kinds of things. We'll just need to adapt it for internal corporate use. All right. And you've both, all of you have really pointed out the kinds of things that need to be highlighted. The time, the amount of time, the authorization, right? Signing off on whatever that final product is that goes out. That needs to have protection from the corporate side to the individual side. That all needs to be recorded so that those situations, like you said, Brian, doesn't happen. It's like, oh, I didn't approve this. This is not me. This is an AI avatar. Try to roll back on those kinds of things. It's so that everybody involved is protected. Now, will that add a whole bunch of extra steps? Yes, it will. And will there be more lawyers and redlining and things like that? Most definitely. I find it really interesting, Karl, that you're like at the forefront of this specific example right now, and I definitely want to keep track of what comes out of that whole experience, because I think you're right. They need to know.
There's one thing that I remember too, and when you work in like, if you have people working with executives and you have all the different layers, right? How like, think of like when an email goes out and then you're like, oh shoot, sorry, we were not supposed to send that email because reasons. That has a different, everybody's used to that now. Everybody's like, yeah, I don't care. You might not have even read the email and you're like, whoa, there was a mistake in the other one. Okay, great. And mostly the mistake is no one cares about the mistake. It's so mundane that everyone panics. An AI avatar delivering a message has a much different impact. You can't just put another AI avatar and be like, hey, by the way, that one, mistake. Don't do that one, do this one.
Because I'm the real fake avatar.
I'm the real thing. Well, actually, I'm the fake thing, but I'm more real than that one. I'm more up to date than that one. Because that one is like, the person said it in the voice, in the, like, it's, and so like there's so much more implications of that too. And it's not that there's malicious things to it. It's more of like, you know, people are busy and they're like, did you get approval? Yes. Or someone forgot to get approval, or someone just forgot something in the whole chain, and someone didn't. You know how many versions of things that we create, and version final 1, final 4, final 0.5, and that kind of stuff.
Final.
So you know that there's going to be someone who writes like the avatar, but you have to change a word, change something, and it didn't go out correctly. But someone forgot which version you're on, and you send like version 2. But it's even worse if it's a CFO and they say something 8.9 million, something 9.9, and there's a big difference between the 8.9 and the 9.9.
Right.
To me, that is the growing pains that we will see. And I do think we'll eventually get to the point where, just like emails, you're like, I don't care. I haven't even watched that video avatar. Right. But now, just at this moment, when people see it, and not everyone's going to be like, oh, that's real or that's not. I don't think we're there yet. As a society, we haven't, like, it's not accepted and we don't care about it. It's just it becomes white noise. This is still brand new, so it'll.
There's
like,
just something real quick on that. There's probably some psychology to that too, which is that if I see it and it looks like Beth and it talks like Beth, and then you say, "Whoop! Don't listen to what even Beth is like." That was a wrong message. It went out the wrong way. We'll fix it. I can forget an email or whatever. It's what I mean, like you said, but like it's sort of like, I think I said maybe off the show, like striking from the record in a court case. Something said, and the judge says, strike that from the record. And then you go, well, the jury still heard it. They can't literally erase it out of their head. They can do their best as humans to not bring that into the discussions. Sure. Do your best, but it's a whole bunch of humans that are fallible. So like, I don't know what happens when, AI Beth puts out a message, and even if it's just a tiny, not even a big deal to the company. And then the company comes out like 30 minutes later and they're like, sorry about that last message from Beth. It had some errant information in it, like you would on an email. Here's the new one. And you're like, but I saw, I don't know, at the human side of it, it's like, but I saw Beth say what she said, and now it's got to be a lot harder, I would imagine. Even if I can accept that that's an avatar and these things happen and we all get used to it, how do you factor in the human psychological factor of now seeing it and hearing it? That's a different kind of like root memory, I would think, that you just can't strike by simply saying
and you have a memory with me.
Yes.
That I don't have. And this is actually something that happens and like that just needs to be like gotten in sort of the zeitgeist, right? I agree that we're sort of at the forefront. This does happen for performers, right? So you come, you watch me, I'm on stage, you have a memory of me. I do not have a memory of you as an audience member.
Sure.
But now we've upped the ante, and now I'm talking to you, right? So you have a memory of like a one-on-one with me or a video message specifically for you that I don't have a memory of. And even if I approve it, it didn't go in the same side of my head as if we had a real conversation, and it did go in that side of your head.
So something I just thought about with this is, we've got the issue of people maybe doing something bad with someone's avatar, but I wonder how long it's going to take before somebody says, let's start using these avatars. And if we put something out there that bombs really quickly because they misjudged the tone of the audience, we can just claim it was an accident and an AI avatar rather than a real person, and they'll try and step back from it. So it'll be almost like an excuse to dodge a screw-up that they actually made deliberately. So that'll be another side of it I think we'll see happen.
Yeah, I think as we sort of wrap this up today, I was just going to say, like, what we've talked about, what's a bad use, and or the cautionary tales of avatars, but there's certainly some good uses of it. I'll throw mine in there, and you guys tell me what you think. Real quick, I would say right now, I would prefer a CEO create a more cartoonish or less lifelike avatar, because then it's clearly not the CEO, and it can still be a great representation. And I'm still probably, even if it's their voice, I'm still going to watch videos from them and stuff like that. But at no point I'm like, well, that's the real cartoon CEO. You know what I mean? Like, there's no crossover there for me. And I think that's a safety net right now that companies can kind of lean on, which is, hey, we've talked a lot about the human looking, hard to see the difference in type avatar, but avatars also can be cartoons. Avatar also can be non-humanoid looking figures too, and so there's that part of it. Okay, what do you guys think as we wrap this up?
That kind of requires a CEO to have a little bit of a sense of humor, I suspect. So,
Yeah.
but I mean, from my perspective, obviously because of what I do, AI avatars for video content and video marketing are awesome, because I've spent years trying to get normal clients to stand in front of a camera and talk, and it's been mostly a beat your head against the wall process. So, this is everyone I talk to about this is interested as a business person. That most of them can see some advantage in it. So I'm big on that. I mostly deal with individuals rather than big companies, but it's still usable. It's just horses are courses, as we say.
Mm-hmm. I think the use cases that people are going to see that are most effective is in the advertising and marketing sense, because there is that disconnect whenever someone is watching some form of advertisement, right? It's they disassociate from that image or from that message. It's like, oh, they're selling me a truck. Okay. Or, oh, they're selling me a computer, right? Having an AI avatar / narrator leading them through that advertisement, I don't think it's going to be too much of an issue. Also, virtual assistants where you have human-like avatars, but they're just helping you accomplish whatever your goal is. We've heard of virtual fitting rooms, for the clothing retail. We've heard of hospitality. So like if you're interaction for, a virtual a trip, or you're booking a hotel, or anyone that's helping you on a call. And we've talked about these are just all various implementations of a chat bot or a call center kind of thing. So all of these are probably going to be perfectly fine, because people have a specific task. They're trying to execute on that. And it only really becomes a problem when something either goes very awry, or you're trying to convince somebody that this is the real version, right? And I think everything can be wrapped up to transparency, right? We talked about trust between the customer and the business, or face to face, those kinds of things. So if there's plenty of transparency, I think that's going to cover a lot of bases, right? And it just becomes more how useful the actual avatar is in whatever interaction, and that's probably where you're going to get your biggest upscale from there.
Right.
I will. Oh, sorry.
I'm going to let Karl go last. I think have a plan for put this into effect in your business in a way that you can stand by it no matter what happens, and make people's lives better. Right? So if you're adding this as a customer service agent and something funky happens, know that might happen, and the end result is that the customer is going to still be in a really good place, right? Mm-hmm. Like, don't start this with your CEO's thing. Although I can see why, from a business standpoint, it makes the business people's lives better if the CEO can do this. But you want to be the trust is the biggest thing here. And so if you're making your customers' lives better, or your service people's lives better, that's a good path to go down, because now you're aligned with your audience. Karl.
Yeah, take us home, Karl.
So I want to give you this use case, because down the line, everyone knows this year is or some of this year is going to be about agents, right? Agents, because so the question I have now is, because as humans, we love to anthropomorphize everything. So there is this, that agent isn't going to be nebulous. It's going to be we're going to have like this thing that's going to do things for you. And the one thing that I thought of was like, imagine in a company that your agent in the future, all these in the company, everyone has an agent to help them do something. That agent is in the form of your company's CEO or CFO. And that's the use of an avatar. So that was my last thing. It's like, remember, these things just won't talk to you. They'll actually be doing stuff. So that would be the next thing that you have to think about. Because yes, AI Beth could be saying something, but AI Beth could also be doing something. And then will you allow a company to allow AI Beth to not only do something, say something, but actually do something on your behalf?
Yeah. No, listen, I think this is a good, solid point, Beth. I love your point as far as, circle back to the basics, be helpful, make your customer experience better. Don't do things that are going to put your company in a position where you might have PR issues down the road. This is a topic I think we'll definitely come back to again and again in 2024 because it's going to evolve. There's going to be many more developments in this from technologies and so on and so forth. Companies like HeyGen have done amazing in just 2023. I can't imagine what they have going and many others like them. All right. So what we have coming up the rest of the week, tomorrow, quite possibly, I'm going to actually go through these thumbnails, but quite possibly my favorite thumbnail that I've ever created is for tomorrow. Here it is. Is Zuck savior or AI savior a villain? I love this thumbnail. And go check it out. If you're listening to us on the podcast, you'll see it at some point. Wednesday, we have the news. Thursday, will AI kill human creativity or unlock it? So we'll be talking a little bit more about, is it a bad thing? Is it a good thing for AI to be helping you with human creativity when we're writing things, when we're creating things? Is that a helpful thing, or is our next generation not going to be able to think of anything creative because AI was able to do it for them? And then on Friday, we'll be talking about Microsoft Copilot, which we had said a couple of days ago that we're going to come back to. Is Copilot the solution that most businesses need? Is this mainstream at this point? Where do they fall into the marketplace? Hopefully by then, maybe we'll have some people who have used it on the panel, but if not, we'll definitely talk about it and have a good conversation. And then we have a whole lot of other topics coming up next week. So that's it for this week. Go check out our interview series. We got some good ones out there. With Nicole Leffer, we got one with Roll AI. We got one with Amanda Bickerstaff. They're great. Go check those out. We're going to be continuing to put out interviews in addition to these shows. So expanding, and it's going to be a good 2024. So come on back. And we'll see you guys tomorrow. Until then, wrong one. Splash screen. Here we go.
Aloha.